Our mind is composed of multiple distinct parts or subpersonalities, each with its own perspective, interests, memories, and viewpoints. This is where inner conflict comes from, because a part of us wants this, but a part of us knows that this is better. And then there's another part that's really wanting something else. When we get stuck, many times it's because we have 2 or 3 or 4 parts pushing, pulling us, so when you're pushing and pulling it, you kind of get stuck in one spot of usually indecisiveness. That's usually what causes us to get stuck. So another principle of IFS is all parts are inherently good. All parts inherently have the highest intention of helping us to have a happy life, which to these parts means not getting rejected. Remember, in the subconscious, rejection equals death. Acceptance equals survival. So these parts might have behaviors that are not acceptable, not appropriate, and can be harmful. But the intention behind the behavior is to help us survive, which means help us be accepted. And if we're not accepted, then help us to not die. So it's a way of beginning to understand the intention behind the part, that all parts have that highest intention for us. The parts with these excessive behaviors, because of extreme jobs they took on when they got disconnected from the whole self, from the wholeness of us, are caused by extreme jobs. They gave up their original roles they were supposed to play in our life, and they sacrificed themselves and took on these extreme jobs to help us survive, with the understanding that if we're not accepted, we'll die. If we're rejected, we'll die. So all parts are inherently good, have inherently good intentions. And one of the things that I say in this work is all parts are welcome. All parts are a part of us. We're not getting rid of anybody, no matter what. All parts are welcome, but all behavior is not. So saying that all parts are good and all parts are welcome does not mean that all behavior is allowed. No. But there is a process of learning about the part and reconnecting it, and we'll get into that next week. So the next principle of IFS is, and this is something that really sets it apart from shadow work, from ego states therapy that I've seen, from parts therapy and clinical hypnotherapy. There's another one that I'm missing. Shadow work, inner child work. This is why I am so grateful to Richard Schwartz and friends for developing this with the recognition of the self. There is a wholeness of us. We have a core essence that we are born with. It is there. And I use the analogy of a tulip. You know how the flower, the tulip, has those thick plastic petals, right? And they're all like around the flower. As we, and we'll get more into this next week, but as we have those protective parts around us, they're like the petals of the tulip. And then as we get to know the parts of our system, when we peel back that petal and we're not getting rid of the petals. We're not throwing them away or cutting them off or anything. They're staying attached to us. They're just relaxing back a little bit and opening and opening and opening. Inside of that tulip is that black stem there. That's the life force, prana, chi, whatever you want to call it, spirit, soul. It's the wholeness of us, the core essence of who we are. We get buried under the parts inside of our subconscious mind that have taken on these extreme jobs, trying to help us survive. But naturally, as we open up these petals, our core essence is there. This is why in this work, we don't have to achieve anything. We don't have to attain anything. We don't have to go after things. We don't have to fight things. We don't have to force things. No, all we have to do is relax back. And it naturally occurs. It's naturally unfolding. So it's a very different kind of model because of the piece that is self-energy. So with self-energy accessed, as those protective parts relax back and as we heal the core wounds, self-energy then is able to be accessed to lead and direct life. So there's the analogy of the bus of life. Self-energy, who is our natural core essence, should be the one driving the bus. Self-energy naturally has confidence, courage, clarity, compassion, kindness, patience, perseverance. But we get buried under those protective parts that has anger, rage, jealousy, dissociation, numbness, addiction, trying to survive. Those protective parts, once they're relaxed back through this work, self-energy is access to drive the bus, to lead our life, to make decisions in calmness, to balance the inner system and see options and opportunities around us that we couldn't see before. Because survival mode, as we said in module 1, is very narrow field of vision. It's like the blinders on the horse bridles that pull the buggies around here. They do the downtown tours in Savannah and Beaufort down here. Those blinders is what survival mode is. The protective parts have to watch out for danger. Danger, danger, danger. Where's danger? Where's danger? You can't do that in a wide field of vision. You would exasperate your energy level way too quickly. So the protector parts have to have this very narrow field of vision to be able to look for danger in survival mode. So when we are leading our life from self-energy, when we're in the driver's seat driving the bus in self-energy, we have this expanded field of vision where we can see opportunities, collaborations, options that we can't see when self-energy is buried and has blinders on, because the protector part is in the driver's seat of the bus. Don't worry, guys. I know how to drive this one. I know how to survive this one. They're putting us down. I know how to drive. They jump in the driver's seat and they take over and they run everybody over with the bus. Or sometimes they take the bus and go hide somewhere, you know. So the goal in IFS, it's kind of like the natural unfolding that happens in IFS is self-energy sits in the driver's seat of the bus of life, rather than a protector part jumping in the driver's seat. And, you know, self-energy is like duct tape, mouth covered and tied up and duct tape to the emergency door at the back of the bus. That's what it's like before we start learning about triggers, before we start learning about our inner system, before we start learning about breath work and our subconscious mind. Self-energy is like duct tape to the back emergency door. So slowly, we're going to peel off the tape. We're going to open those petals, and it's going to naturally unfold. So the process of internal family systems brings healing through relationship. But this is a little bit ambiguous here. It's a little bit unclear kind of how it's worded here. So let me actually word it better than this, healing through relationship. The parts in our subconscious mind that had to give up their original roles of playing, of creativity, of laughing, of relaxing, of sharing with others, of looking for others to share with, they gave up those roles and took on these extreme jobs of protection when there was emotional overwhelm or trauma that happened in life at a young age that we didn't understand at a young age. When that happened, that part got disconnected from the whole. They had to take on that job. And it shoved, self-energy gets duct taped to the back of the bus, and it took that core wound and kind of anchored it in and hid it in the system. We're going to get to that more next week.